Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm not getting market data right now, so I don't know if we really got much of a stream today. Well, let's just go in. We're going to get some retail sales here in about 4 minutes. Um, that's really going to be the big one. The retail sales data for China was not good. I haven't seen the charts or anything, but I would guess that we're probably down compared to yesterday. Um, Not really sure what else to say. I'm not getting data. Good morning, 133. How are you? I am really upset. So ah, now it lets me in. Okay. I guess. Wow, you're up $500 at the moment. That sounds like a good day, especially if you were just doing it with like one contract. Good morning, Trader Josh. By the way, I got your thing. I'm gonna try and read it this weekend. Um, I've been shown a couple of things. Somebody was showing this some a video. I don't know if that was you. Who was that? No, that was somebody else. Mm-mm. Yeah, somebody else was showing me a breakout or opening range breakout strategy, that like a YouTube video. And I had a lot of problems with the way that the guy was backtesting this. So I'm like, we should try backtesting that. It'd be great. Because I know tons of people that use opening range breakout type of strategies. Well, man, I don't know why CQG was being like that. That was super weird. I was freaking out because I know that I've had this. So here's the thing. I've been I have an account at AMP, right? And I wanted to move off of AMP. So when we had that mistake, remember we lost a ton by trading the wrong instrument on accident. And so after that, I kind of just let that account sit there. And, the account's been slowly going down because it's been using the data, right? Um Sorry, the guy on financial just made a mistake and said something when he forgot that. anyways, anyways, it's getting time to where I was going to put the money that I'd been saving or that I'd taken out into a new account, but I can't put it into a new account because we ended up getting the new squawk. So then I was going to just go into AMP, and I need to do that before the end of the month. And so I thought, oh, why would it? It should be good for another month. And then it wasn't letting me in, so I thought we weren't going to do anything. Okay, so we got 10 seconds. Let's get in. We're dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. Okay, it's 1.2 lower than forecast of 1.9. Core is 1.9 versus 1.3. So it's lower when you include autos, but it's higher when you exclude them. So that is actually good, but fairly tepidly, right? My charts are still kind of loading, so no, we can look at it now. Okay, so let's do the rundown now. All right. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so yesterday we had a really bad 30-year auction. The 30-year dropped almost a whole point. Pretty significant drop. Since then, it's recovered. But if interest rates are going to raise that much, and it was seriously like 100, almost 100 basis points. I think it was 75. Anyways, you're going to have that happen, then yeah, equities are going to have to come down. And so that's what happened in the end. They fought it really, really hard. Oh man, the retail traders fought this so hard. Why do you follow treasuries? Well, this is a really great example. 133. So if the 30-year auction was poor, and because of that, interest rates rose by like 75 basis points yesterday. Well, if interest rates are higher, that's going to have an impact on stocks. What did stocks do? In the end, sold off. They were trying to hold that so bad. Overnight, back up, and then the Chinese retail sales data came out and just pummeled them. Okay. Well, we've got the weekly open at 33.47. That it would be a key spot that I would want to be watching. Probably unlikely to get down to the monthly one. That's way down at 32.70. Now we got to look at a couple of other things. Oil still in the range. Gold's still kind of in its pullback mode. You know what? This chart right here is useless. I'm just get rid of it. We always look at it over here. So two other things I want to look at. Gold, the dollar. The dollar was recovering yesterday. Looks like it's flat today. 6J improving, obviously, because 6J tracks the treasuries real closely. You can see it better there. And then copper had a pretty bad down day yesterday and is recovering. Copper is going to be one that we want to watch really closely as well. Okay, so anyways, to the question, why do you follow treasuries? If you were trading equities and you knew nothing about the treasuries, then you were one of those guys yesterday that when they initially came down, you were buying the dip and you got destroyed. You want to watch the whole market and you want to know where the money is coming from and where the money is going to so that you can adjust for your own trading appropriately. Oil is the day before rollover, so either really boring session or a big move, almost no in between. Yeah. Well, they look pretty settled though, Kevin. I don't know if they're gonna get that. Will it let me roll over yet? If I come over here to my database management, it will. It'll let me roll over. So let me roll over. Maybe that'll change what we see in oil. Let's see. Come over here. Oh, a little bit of I do see a little bit of down and a point of control up above us at 42.85. That's untouched in oil. Not significant though. You say that the volume is lower on the new contract. Okay. Now, another thing that we missed there with the numbers that came out was non-farm productivity was 7.3 versus an expected 1.5, which is really good. So that's interesting. Now we've got something else. We got more. So I don't know when this is supposed to be, but China and the U.S. are supposed to be meeting today, right? I don't know anything about that. Second quarter productivity rises at 7.3% annual pace, estimated up 1.5%. Zero hedge. It's settled. Americans are only productive when they all work from home. Also, the BLS credibility is identical to the Beijing goal Secotron. Oh. Ew. Ew. Patrick Rooney retweeting Jonathan Hohenegg. The Nasdaq's 59% gain over the last 100 days is the third strongest on record behind the January 1999 and March 2000. Okay, that's not a good comparison. Uh, bunch of stuff from the market here overnight. Boom. Okay. Okay, so we have industrial production and capacity utilization rate before the equities market opens up. And then we've got consumer sentiment at 10 o'clock. And like I said, I believe that China and the United States are speaking today, and that might quiet things down a bit. It is September. Just should warn you, and like next week and the week after are the weeks that are like the worst. So like we had a lot of data this week. Um, these next 2 weeks is when everybody typically goes on vacation. It's probably going to be a little bit different this time because not nobody's going to go on vacation, but you might see really messy trade, right? Also because there's so many retail players out in the market, and they're not going to know that. They're not going to know that, right? Well, I'd say that they've held above 1900 really well, and I do see a lot of short-term fundamentals that should be in favor of gold. But the trade just the way that that thing has been trading is just not very good. Robin Hooders, yeah. You know, I was watching this video yesterday. I actually had it was like I don't know why I watched it because it had no new information. It was a complete waste of my time, except for this one thing, and it was that they were showing the Robinhood app because I've never downloaded it and used it. I have a real brokerage. I don't know if it's a real brokerage. I trade stocks through Fidelity, but it, it I didn't know that the app was so gamified. Like they got these things where like something happens and you get confetti and all of this sort of stuff. The whole thing is like it, the name Robin Hood. It's couldn't be further from the truth. This is not an app to take money from the rich and give to the poor. No, this is a trap set up by the rich to skim money off of you. Seems to me. I don't know. And I got to tell you what, the stuff that we see from the Robinhood traders, some of the dumbest trading, like that Hertz thing. Holy crap, guys. That is so dumb. That is so dumb. If you say so. Mm-mm. Okay. I'm checking CNBC here to see if they're saying anything about that they're supposed to talk today. I don't see anything about that. Oh my gosh. Did you guys see this thing about Epic Games is suing both Apple and now Google over policies in their app store? Um, they have a problem that if you're going to be on their app store, that your financial transactions and so forth have to go through them. And I don't know if they have a very good legal case, but they're like going all in on it. And apparently it is a huge deal. I probably find it more interesting than you guys do because I really hate Apple for one thing. But then I know the guys at Epic Games really, really well. I'm not so sure that they're I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if they talk to a lawyer and a lawyer was like, sure, we can try and help you sue them. You know, with the lawyer just thinking, well, you pay me a lot of money, it'll be great whether we win or lose. And I don't know if the legal case is that good or not. The Hill QAnon supporting congressional candidate embraced 9/11 conspiracy theory. Not surprised. Some people are just prone to conspiracy theories. Hmm. Ooh, what was this instrument? Oh. Oh, that's Kevin. Okay. This is a good point. Can I show them that? I'll show them that. He was pointing out that it was a double inside day on oil, so a breakout here on oil could lead into a real bender of a day. You know, where are they at? So let's just keep an eye on that. If they're getting below 42, then we might want to go over and take a peek. I kind of feel like I need to adjust my workspace. So let me just show you what I'm looking at here. I've got I'm showing here 6E, 6J, gold, dollar index. So these are my currencies right here, right? And then I got two charts for the E-mini. And then I've got a chart for each of the treasuries. I find these charts for each of the treasuries useful because I can get a pretty good idea of where they're spreading and so forth. And I know where they're going to stop and stuff. But I also kind of wonder, do I really need to have it all in one chart? Do I really find like these largest orders, this stuff down here useful? It used to be like, you know what? Why not have it on there? And we can just see if it's useful or if there's anything interesting about it. But if I'm trying to find more room, then I kind of have to start to wonder about what I use and what I don't use. Same up here in the ES. Like I really don't use this tick very often. I don't pay attention to it. Adaptive CCI I think is a really great indicator, but I haven't been really paying too much attention to it. So like I could just get rid of this and just use a 5-minute chart in the E-mini. You know what? If the market became more volatile, then the 1-minute chart might matter. But right now, it's like so slow that I'm just using the 5. But because I want to have a chart up, I want to see the price of oil and I want to see the price of copper. Just add 5 more screens, says Josh. Yeah, I could. Well, here's the thing. Have you guys seen the picture from behind of my desk? Let me find that. Let me find a picture. There it is. So that's my desk setup, right? So I've got the lights and the camera. You notice how this monitor over on the right is lower so that the camera can look over the monitor. Because that's a chat monitor and need to have it really at the same level anyways. So you can kind of see how like adding more monitors would be a problem. It's difficult to add another monitor and not block the lights and stuff. And I got this issue with my speakers that the speakers are behind the monitor. There's nothing I can do about that. It's a mess. I cannot do everything that I want to do with my setup. Like it used to be, I wish I need to go and buy another monitor. I need to go and get XYZ. Want to get a new camera. Now it's like I'm just running into the physical limitations. The things that I want to do, that's like there's physical limitations to doing what I want. I need to do one of those things where it's like, I have a whole wall of monitors and I'm sitting way back here, and you know what I mean? Like that's what it's starting to turn into. Switch things out. Well, I intentionally, I originally intended it so that I could move the monitors out so that the speakers wouldn't be blocked, but it doesn't seem to work that way. It's actually too much of a burden to move the monitors to do it that way. Put shelves on the wall and use them. Yeah, but I mean, there's just a limitation like at this camera right here. I suppose that I could move this light just over just a tad and I could fit another monitor right here. That would probably work. You need to engineer that stuff for efficiency. Right? The whole thing is just, I don't know. It's funny. The streaming setup, because you know what? Like most streamers I've been looking at, they're because I took that picture because Harris Heller, he was doing a thread. He was like, "Show us your streaming setup," and tons of people posted. So I went and looked at all these people that had stream setups, and they, oh man, some of them were crazy. But the triple monitor thing is really common. There was one guy that had like 6 monitors. I'm like, you don't need 6 monitors. Good grief. But I could probably fit a fourth one in. So do you actually watch The Mandalorian, or is Baby Yoda just for the lulz? So Baby Yoda is just for the lulz. Honestly, there's nowhere else to put it that I think is safe. So, but yeah, we watched The Mandalorian and I really liked it. But my little sister just absolutely loved the Baby Yoda thing. And she basically spent the whole pandemic, literally that was all she did, was post Baby Yoda memes. She had so many. And then she, committed suicide. Um she was on well, I know you guys have heard the story before, but she was like on what is that medication that you use to help you go to sleep? She was on Ambien and alcohol at the same time, we believe, and just, was out of her mind and hung herself. I have one super widescreen monitor. Yeah, that would be a great this new Samsung monitor that's super wide. I think that would be a great option. But I think for me, the flexibility of the 3 monitors is probably better. It's the speakers is the thing that really drives me crazy. I really think that I need a separate setup for it, I guess. I wish I had a smartphone as my setup and stayed while my legs are up a pillow. See, I'm wondering, like, so we got this thing behind me, this big wood cabinet. I'm not super enamored with it. I'm thinking that I could replace that and have a second computer setup, and maybe that would be my trading setup. Maybe I have my trading setup over there, and actually, no, I don't know. Yeah, I think I would want to have my actual trading setup over there, and over here would be the audio setup, because I think that this side of the room is a little better acoustically because there's a window behind me. There's a window directly on the other side of the window here, and so I can't really put as much like foam and acoustic treatment there, but I can on that opposite wall. So I think that I would want to have that wall be the trade setup, but probably doesn't really matter which way I do I? You could technically use TeamViewer for what exactly? Anyways, it looks nice. So that cabinet does look nice. It is nice. I don't think it really fits the aesthetic of the room, but it is nice. I don't know what we would do with it. We would have all this stuff. We wouldn't have anywhere to put it if we got rid of it, though. That's a problem. So maybe it's never going to go away. Mm-hmm. What I really need is I really needed just a completely different space. I need to become a billionaire, build a completely new house, and just build 2 rooms, one just for studio producing and one for trading. And then I can have a room for weightlifting, and then I could have a big open room for throwing parties or something. Oh, TeamViewer. Trading on the phone was towards selling. I wish I had a smartphone as my setup and trade while my legs are on a pillow. Yeah, you can use TeamViewer on your phone and then use your desktop. That actually, I've done that before. Stop using things that have a footprint. Put stuff on the walls. Well, I do have stuff to go on the walls. I have that little picture there, and I got another picture coming. I don't know if I'm gonna put it in here or if I'm gonna put it in the other room. But it's a very nice picture that my dad took. That's a picture of a wave. There's not a whole lot in this room. That is the thing. I could totally do just about anything that I want with the room. The constraints are all physical, right? Like for good acoustics to have a good listening room for producing with, there are certain things that make the room better or worse. If this room was twice as big, it would be better for producing. You used it twice to manage trades while I had to leave the desk for a handyman. Oh man, yeah. I had to do that a couple of times when I worked for Goldman Sachs and there was a critical issue. And so I logged on to my NDS machine with my phone and did something. It was a pain to use. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Here, I have a couple of bites of this Pop Tart. I'm going to eat this, all right? Oh, jeez. I mean, I wish I was. Remember we were trying to do the Illuminati sign that we're ready for fame and fortune or whatever? That's this, right? Now if you are one of the Illuminati drones or whoever it is, you're supposed to give me fame and fortune. So like make sure you click the like button. Obviously, if you're not already subscribed, you should subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you know when we're live. And then go out and, post a bunch of links to my stream on the day trading subreddits. Yeah. Like just go into the comments and people are talking and be like, oh, yeah, Speculator Seth, he would be a really great person to watch for that sort of thing. That's that's your obligation because I've given you the Illuminati sign. No, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked, has it? Actually, you know what? We've done pretty well since then, but I don't think it actually worked. But I did work for Goldman Sachs. I was never taken into the basement or anything like that. I was just in technology. So if there is any kind of strange Illuminati rituals going on in the basement, then I'm not aware of it. But I highly doubt it. The people that I gotta tell you what. Well, let me eat my food and then I'll tell you about how Goldman Sachs was really kind of treated unfairly, in my opinion. Pretentious Illuminati. What would be pretentious? An Oreo Pop-Tart, the food of the Illuminati. You got us, Salim. I admit it. That is the secret to our power, is Oreo flavored Pop-Tarts. We wanted to create something because we needed to make it available. You don't want to have to get your food through back channels. We don't want the public to know the power that is infused within our food. So we intentionally chose something that everybody would think is unhealthy. Hence, an Oreo Pop-Tart. But contained within them is the secret to our power. I feel so stupid saying things like that. So anyways, Goldman. So let me tell you about Goldman. Before the financial crisis, Goldman Sachs was a private firm. And the thing that they were really known for was their trading operations. If you wanted to get a trade done, you go and you pay Goldman Sachs for it. And they made serious bank. And as a private bank, they were able to do all the crazy. This was when they would have like work parties with lobster and the big parties and all of that stuff, right? Well, Goldman Sachs has been around for a long time. They've been around for like 100 years or something like that. And Goldman Sachs has a unique culture. A lot of Wall Street has tried to duplicate or copy their culture. Okay. But it really originated in Goldman Sachs, and they're really the ones that go for it. They very much push it in the way that they hire. They hire certain type of people. But if there was any one thing that I would say is unusual, is I almost want to call it an obsession with their reputation. They believe that their reputation is everything. And so they have always spent considerable amount of effort trying to show to build the reputation of themselves being the most elite Wall Street firm. But the reality was always that Goldman Sachs was relatively small. The reason that they were able to do or be so effective at some of the things that they did was because they were lean and they just did that thing that they were good at, which was trading. Okay. Then the financial crisis came along. And really what happened during the financial crisis, and I will explain this to you from a technical perspective. Goldman Sachs has developed something that they call securities database, which is a object database. So normally when you do a database, it's kind of like rows and columns of sorts, and you can kind of correlate the data between different tables by joining certain columns together. Well, this is an object database, which means you will have an object in there like the 10-year treasury, and it will have a bunch of information about it. And then other objects can link themselves to data properties of that 10-year treasury. Okay, object database. So what ends up happening in securities database is you come in and you say, okay, the interest rate is now 1 basis point higher. And then every other security in the database can look at the things that they use to calculate what they're worth, and they can adjust accordingly. And it can even handle these strange, circular relationships. Okay. And what they do is, the reason that this exists is so that they can calculate what their risk is. Because when you have these complicated instruments, A question like, what happens if the interest rate rises by a whole point? How does that affect all of our holdings? That is really difficult to determine. But with securities database, you just let it churn all night, and when you come in the morning, you get a clear answer about what your risks are. And what Goldman Sachs determined from their securities database was that they had significant exposure to the housing market. So, like the good traders that they went out and completely hedged their exposure. They did what you should do. You're a bank, you're supposed to be making money off of the spread and off of, commissions from executing things and providing things for customers. You want to hedge yourself. So if the housing market crashes, you want to be hedged against that. Because they had the technology, they were really the only ones that were aware, at least the only bank that were aware from a risk perspective of what their risks were, and they hedged it. Okay. Well, AIG came along and they're like, oh, yeah, we can give you those, we can give you insurance against that because, like, that's like never going to happen anyway. So we'll totally, give you as much insurance as you need. Okay. So the reality here is, now, should they have had that much exposure to it in the first place? I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is that the government kind of encouraged it, frankly. They kind of set the whole, like, all of the banking requirements and the laws that they had at the time were basically geared to drive banks to create these mortgage-backed securities. Like, straight up, Congress in the 1990s made these policies to try and get more people into homes. It straight up, they did. And the banks just kind of did what was the optimal strategy, not really realizing that there was systematic risk, right? Goldman Sachs knew that we had a lot of risk to this thing. That's why they went and they bought the insurance. But they didn't know that AIG wasn't going to be able to pay it all out, right? So, of course, when the financial crisis happened, the whole thing came in and they, they were hedged. But of course, because they were hedged, that actually was kind of the thing that created the systemic risk that was a problem, right? So when push came to shove, who was really got blamed for being at the center of it all? It was Goldman Sachs. I mean, the thing is like the truly evil guys out there, like Lehman Brothers. Oh my gosh, the shit that they were doing. You believe they were like gonna spin it off, the whole Spinco thing? So ridiculous. So ridiculous. Okay. But Goldman Sachs was like the next shoe, basically, right? And it was really because they were effective at what they did. So they came in and they got the blame. All right. Well, when that happened, the government came in and the government's solution to all of this was as such. We don't think that we can get rid of the systemic risk without compromising the competitiveness of U.S. banks compared to places like Singapore and China. Ergo, we cannot reduce the size of them. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to consolidate all of the risk into a few small entities where we can control it, and then create a ton of regulations that will allow us to keep watch on things, and we will run stress tests on a regular basis so that the banks have to know what their exposure is in the same way that Goldman did, and that was that. So essentially the government came to Goldman Sachs and they said, you need to be bigger. So what they did was they became a bank holding company. They combined, they created new units and they became a bank holding company, and they became this monolith that they are today. But of course, they were always the smallest one. You got to remember this. They were the smallest bank. Okay. Well, like of the like the corporate banking banks, okay, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, they were the smallest by far. When they got bigger, you get growing pains. Because again, their whole thing is reputation, reputation, reputation. But then the other thing is performance, performance, performance. And you got to realize that when you are a bank, people seem to think that like uh, you do something. So like going back, there was this story from Matt Tabby was the thing where the whole idea of the vampire squid came from, right? And that was really the first hit to Goldman Sachs' reputation in after the crisis. And what he did was he went through this big long history of here it was all of the past financial crises and how Goldman Sachs played a role in it. Well, guess what? If you are involved in the banking industry and the banking industry has a financial crisis, then guess what? You're going to have some role in it. So they kind of painted it as, oh, they've been evil this whole time and they're the ones that are always responsible and that they're actually creating these crises so that they can profit off of them. Not really the case. It's just that you're involved, you're going to be involved. And that's just a consequence of being in the financial industry. Okay. Well, when they became bigger, then you started to get all of these growing pains. And I think a combination of the growing pains, the push for performance, and the fact that it was just harder for banks to make money after the crisis. Like they made a ton of money in the crisis, but then after all of those regulations and especially all of the monetary easing, this monetary easing is really not very good for bank profits. I mean, that's the big thing. Okay, less volatility. You're a bank that's primarily about trading. Where do you make your money? So then it started to turn into these things. They started to get into a couple of situations where individual employees did really stupid crap, right? So the regulatory issue that they're dealing with now, where they gave loans to Malaysia, that was so not okay. Like they're not okay with it. I can tell you that much, right? the because it's a hit on your reputation, then it's always bad, and they're always going to say this should never happen again. I can't tell you how much like okay, you worked for a company. You ever had like a real crisis at your company, and it was like you had to do everything. I don't know if everybody has experienced that, okay? But at Goldman Sachs, if something happened that could potentially affect the reputation of the firm, it was we are going to move heaven and earth to make sure that this thing never happens again. One time, there was an issue where somebody deployed a piece of software and they didn't test it. They didn't configure it correctly, and they didn't test it before they put it in live. So they didn't detect that there was the problem. And that router ended up sending trades all over the place. And it made an impact on markets. And this is a story that you can see. And when that happened, because those were our systems, right? The guy that did it, that made the boo boo, the guy that made the boo boo was basically like assigned to be my class's mentor. So I knew this guy quite well. I was shocked that he had made that big of a mistake. But it wasn't necessarily like a huge mistake. It was just kind of an absent-minded thing, right? Didn't test it correctly, right? Well, after that, man, it was like absolutely this can never happen again. Any system that has any kind of a problem like this, because it was like a QA flag, was like, okay, anything that is set up to be there in QA, like there has to be like physical separation from production, so that there's no way that any production system could ever try to do something that it can do in QA. That like the code had to be completely separated and split. And it was like for that, like 2 months after that, stopped everything, only worked on that, changed everything, and we made all of these changes to things that feasibly, from a technical perspective, would never happen. Could never happen. But we had this strict requirement that everything had to be split. So it was literally like move heaven and earth. Like the amount of work that we did and the things that we did to fix that was crazy. You know, that's how much they care about it. And then you come into like this one Malaysia thing where these guys made this loan that they really should not have. It's almost shocking, having worked there, that they made that one. Now the other one that Sunday's driver's talking about, that GS shorted securities they recommended to long clients, that is a totally different thing. Sunday driver is a totally different thing, because the people that are providing a security, their job is, you come to them and you say, I want to do X. And they say, okay, let's create a security for you that can do X. And that is their responsibility. There can be somebody else on the other side of the firm that says, oh, this security exists now. We don't think, that it's going to hold its value. We should short it. And they can do that. Like one hand can be doing something that the other hand doesn't. And they have absolutely no obligation. This is trading, guys. Like, seriously, if I come in and I buy the S&P 500, is the person that's shorting it obligated to tell you everything that they know about it? No, that's trading. That one drives me crazy, because they turned it into that there was this immoral thing that they did. And it's like, okay, if what they did was so evil, then all of trading is evil, because that's all they did was trade. But the Malaysia one, no excuse, right? And I think that they say that, even though they don't want to admit that they did anything law breaking. That's always been the red line. They'll never admit any law breaking, but they do admit that they shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have. It's true. So that's Goldman. It's kind of this sad story where it's like you have this company that is so obsessed with its reputation, kind of gets caught in a series of unfortunate events and kind of becomes the whipping boy. when I really think that the problem, it's a scapegoat, because when you really go back and look at it, who's the evil one here? If somebody did something evil, I don't think anybody did anything evil, but by who did the dumb thing? It was Congress. Congress was the one that made all of these regulations, and they effectively got you guys all to blame a bank that was doing the right thing. So, of course, I have a biased view of it, but the whole thing, that's my view of it. And this is always like when you watch The Big Short, and they're like, well, this thing happened and this thing happened. And it was this whole thing about, oh, what we do here in the banking industry is bad. It's like that whole movie. But you know what it really is? That whole freaking movie is basically trying to distract you from the fact that Congress set up laws that created a system that was destined to do this. If it hadn't have been them, if they had a guy in there at Goldman Sachs that was smart enough to realize what was going to happen, and they said, no, we're not going to do this because this is what would happen, somebody else would have done it. It was destined to happen because the laws were set up to basically force them into doing it. And then you just have, everybody's short-sighted, and it's a really complicated thing anyway, so they really don't understand the consequences of what they're doing. Yeah, it's going to happen. It wasn't some moral failing on any, on one organization. I think that's ridiculous. So yeah, I worked for them for like 6 years in technology, and I really liked working there, and I thought they were a great company. Get government out of the economy. Well, yeah. Good luck with that one, Salim. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. It was like I was saying yesterday about the politics of stuff, because some people don't like to talk about politics. I get it, because you don't. If you don't agree with me on the politics, then I'm going to say things that are probably going to upset you. And I kind of have a way of getting under people's skin, 133, yeah. I worked there for 6 years in technology. I didn't trade there. I don't know, I don't know anything special. Well, I won't say special. I worked on, like, a lot of it was building systems for them to test things with. But then we also worked with the risk control systems for my second half of there. For like 3 years of that, I was working on risk control systems, and then I knew a lot of stuff. But well, in terms of like what clients were doing, because I could watch all their positions, and I would go in and look at it and kind of look at what people were doing. Although the only thing that I gleaned from that was that the amount of money that these firms spend invest is insane. But I digress. I have always found that I feel like I have a way of saying things that if you don't agree with the thing, it really gets you mad. Maybe that's an illusion, but always felt like when I feel really strongly about something and it's a controversial thing, that I will get people that are just so upset about it. So upset. It used to, when I was a kid, and I post on forums, and we would have huge flame wars. Huge flame wars. I haven't seen, since those days, intellectual discussions on the internet quite like those ones back then. And I had no clue what I was talking about, of course. But we tried. And I knew how to rile people up, So I get it that they don't want to talk about the politics. But, like, what choice do we have? The government is the economy to a large extent. Like, in terms of my trading, what is going to be the best trade? The best trade that I could possibly make right now would be if the government came out and said something that changed their policy in its effects to the economy. And those all have such a huge impact. It's like, basically, like, when that's happening, that's the only thing to trade off of. Like, since March, the Federal Reserve is printing a lot of money. You buy. It's that simple. It was that simple, wasn't it? Of course, they're not injecting as much money, although that might change. But oh yeah, I totally agree with you, Izzy. I still like to argue on Reddit from time to time, but it's just not the same thing. Like, the people that I run into on Reddit, um, most of the time they just have no clue what's going on. I think, um, they will say things that display a complete lack of understanding of either the issue at hand or your position on it. It's like everything is geared towards causing people to misunderstand the other side. Blind followers. Yeah, I don't know. You seen this study that, like, um they kind of looked at how well conservatives were able to explain liberal arguments and liberals were able to explain conservative arguments, and they found that the conservatives understood the liberal argument pretty well, but the liberals didn't understand the conservative argument at all. And I think there's two reasons for it. The first one is that, especially online, you really can't go anywhere without being exposed to the liberal opinion. So the conservative is forced to know the liberal opinion, where the liberal can kind of just try and look the other way and ignore what the conservatives are saying, as though those are just those crazy people out in the boonies that don't know anything. But then I also think that there is like an incentive in the Democrat Party to misrepresent what conservatives think about things. You know what I mean? So whenever I have discussions with people on Reddit, I don't really find it. It's so. Well, let me give you an example here. Epic Games is suing Apple and Google. Okay, I don't like Apple. It bothers me that if I want to install Gab, that I can't just do it on an iPhone. Like they can ban it from the App Store, and then what do? There's no way to sideload an application on an Apple, not without like jailbreaking your device and breaking all your warranty and doing all this stuff that it basically Apple has done everything that they can to prevent you from doing. This bothers me. I don't think that it should be that way. At the very least, I can say I don't like the way that they run their platform, right? Maybe there's a legal argument. Controlled sandbox. Yep, you're right. You're right, Vlad. It's like, uh, is there a legal argument that could be made that they shouldn't be able to have that kind of control over your device? Maybe there could be. They could make laws that could prevent them from doing that. It's been discussed, right? So that's how I feel about it, right? Well, Epic Games, they want to have their own games store and they want to have, microtransactions in their games. And with the way that it is right now, anytime that you go and you buy a skin through Fortnite on iOS, uh, Apple gets a 30% cut of it. That's a lot of money, man. That's millions of dollars, right? That Epic could be using to do other things. So, like, to me, I'm like, I would like to see Apple go down. I would like to see Apple win this. But I'm having a discussion about it with my friend who we did all of the Unreal Tournament stuff together, and we went to the Epic Games headquarters together a few times and all that stuff. So we're talking about it, and he's kind of going from a trying to think of it from a legal standpoint, and I think that he's spent a lot more time on this because he's kind of soured on Epic. And he was like, "Well, do you think that you should be able to put any game that you want on Nintendo? Like, because you have to get licensed by Nintendo to be on their system. Do you think that anybody should be able to make a game for Nintendo and they just can't do anything about it? And you can just go from outside of the Nintendo eShop?" I was like, "Oh, right." It was like the first time in months, if not years, that it was like I was talking to somebody that actually thought and had good points, and even frankly knew more about it than me. And it was kind of nice. And I came back out of that and I was like, well, I don't know if there's a good legal case there or not, but I kind of hate Apple. So, hmm well, there's this what is the word? There's this monopoly case. There's this antitrust case in the EU. That's probably more along the lines of what they're talking about. Yeah. You're using your dominance over the phone hardware market to extend your dominance over the phone application market. And you're using your dominance over the phone application market to force people to use your payment processing system. So I think that it could be an antitrust issue. But I don't know. When I read that thing from Epic Games, it kind of seems to me like it was more that they were trying to win in the court of public opinion and not in the law. So I don't know how good of a case, like how good of a chance they have of actually winning. Anyways, interesting kind of thing, isn't it? Man, so that was like an hour of stream of consciousness. I hope you guys enjoyed that because market's not doing a whole lot right now, is it? They look like they might be turning around to point down. I am concerned that they're going to try and sell off today. But let's see. I'm going to bet you that the way that retail trading has been going and everything, that they're going to try and buy it back up and go for the highs of all-time highs again. Don't you think? Although without without a real recovery in the ZB, I don't know how that can happen. Looks like a wedge with overnight action. Yeah. Well, that's just kind of the thing is like, if I look at the chart and everything like that, I can sit down and I can say this is what I think the chart should do based on the situation and kind of just like I don't know gut feel of the chart. But we know that past performance isn't indicative of future results, especially now that you've got these retail guys that just always want to buy no matter what. So then when I look at the fundamental drivers and everything, it's like, well, there's not really a whole lot of fundamentals going on right now. I think that a lot of big guys are going to be hesitant to put anything on because China and the United States are supposed to be talking later today, right? So, and it's Friday. So Friday, it's going to be people closing positions out. So then what's the only fundamental driver that's left after that? Retail traders on Robinhood buy every day, and they've been buying and they just pretty much ignore everything and just buy. So we're down. Are they going to respect that we're down overnight and that the likely direction is down? I don't think they will. Yeah, right? Yeah. No, you're totally right, Vlad. Well, not just that, they don't know how to do anything else, right? Mm, yeah, I mean, I definitely see that if the bottom was going to fall out, I could see some spots down below us. But I think to have that happen, you would probably need to have some sort of thing. Something would have to happen that would cause the retail traders to switch. You know, like if we came out and there was an initial push lower, um, they're probably just going to interpret that as a buy the dip signal again. So if it's going to go down, it would have to like really hit them. They're like, let's say it would have to, where is it? What price is it? It would have to like an initial probe down below 33.47 and then extension, right? That's like 20 points down there. That's crazy. That's like extremely unlikely to happen. That's the sort of thing that it would take for them to just sell all day, right? So then we could look at, they try and buy the dip and don't get very far, and then it sells like yesterday. You get that sort of thing like yesterday. And then because it's Friday and they're all dumping, and then they could all dump it. Yeah. So I'm not incredibly anxious to make a trade at the moment, but let's see what they do. There is that first little impulse was down. More people seemed more excited about breaking out yesterday. You're totally right. No, yeah, I totally see it the way you do, Vlad. Like yesterday, you got the good jobs numbers was the thing that I was looking at, but I think that the retail traders all they cared about was that it was an all time high, and they spent the whole day trying to push it up above that all time high and hold it. But it's so much so that when the 30-year auction thing happened, that they basically ignored it for 20 minutes before they all bailed. It's funny. Are you still on that Tesla short? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I probably shouldn't be, should I? Let's just say that if that was real money, there's no way I would still be in that, right? There is no way I would still be in that. Statistically, the more you hit it, the easier it is to break up. Maybe. So initial move is down. There's a little bit of volume behind it, but so far it's not huge. let's let them work it out. Because again, the initial move is down. Most likely case here, based on what we know, is probably that they're going to buy the dip and move up. Yeah. Oh, they're up at 1661. So that would put me down big time, right? $16,000. Wow. Oh, it's so bad. That's like a $10,000 down day. Well, how long do you think I can hold on to that? Hmm. But when you look at it on that chart, it looks like such a strong trend. But then I know that over here somewhere that's not the all-time high, right? One day, yeah, a little bit deeper, and then yeah, spot where they could potentially turn around because this whole move has basically been the split. So I'm expecting at some point that's going to turn back around. Where you could do it safely, though, I don't know. Oh, you know what? While I'm thinking about it, I saw something. I was seeing this thing that if you go into Thinkorswim, I'm wondering if it will do it with my demo version. They're saying that you can come in here to chat rooms, and oh, it's not there. If you have a TD Ameritrade account, apparently you get the Benzinga audio feed in here, and you can listen to that for free. But I don't. I don't have it. Technically, it's not free, right? Okay. So they've tried a few times to break above the open, but can't make it. Mm-mm. Gonna wait. I want to see like 5 minutes and see how much they've picked up on this initial run. Man accused of throwing a 2-year-old girl into a pond now faces criminal charges. Oh, that's so awful. Okay. So it looks like they are picking up longs. Yeah, you can see them even doing it in the micros. They are buying the dip there at 33.60. Okay, so there's the open again. So it's been a little bit tighter and more um they've come up and tested this almost every minute now. Usually it's something like down, uh okay, we can't get it, we're going to just go down or down, up, down. This one is gone. Mm, 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 and now we're here. Looks like buy the dip early low. Yeah. Especially like look right here at 3360 in the micros. So definitely some buy the dip there, right? Okay, so there was a click and they moved up. Some of the liquidity that was above them at 64 and so forth disappeared on them. And you can see that on that move that the delta moved quite decisively in favor of the buyers. People still saying SPX will drop first and then new all-time high. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of basically what we've been saying, isn't it? Mm-mm-mm. I don't know about all-time high, but so if they're going to really try and screw over everybody that's been short from overnight, they could come all the way up to 33.76 potentially. Right? Okay. NQ is just so hard to read, huh? Oil is down. Sheeple Analytics being retweeted by Zero Hedge 1 year ago today. The yield on the 30-year bond crossed below the overnight rate. 1 month later, the Fed would start ramping repo operations. 6 months later, Earth received a mutant bat. Coincidence? Okay. I don't see how they're related, but interesting that that was a year ago. I remember it well. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, look what happened. They got a lot of longs involved in that, and the it didn't. It's not above the open, and I'm actually starting to get some signs that there's more um, passive volume taking it short. It's not helping that the treasuries are threatening to sell again. Apparently today is National Navajo Code Talkers Day, as tweeted by President Donald Trump. Didn't know there was such a thing. Okay, they're going to try the up again. Okay, so now it is almost into 7:45. We do have consumer sentiment at the top of the hour. So let's start thinking about consumer sentiment here, huh? Let's see here. So we're looking for a reading of 72 and a previous reading of 72.5. Now remind me, last time we were looking for a reading of 77. They underperformed last time. Oh, sorry, 79. We were looking for 79 and we got 73.2. Now we're looking for 72.5. So they're looking for consumer sentiment to decline slightly. Need to look at something in my indicator here because it's not resetting where I think it should. Oh. Why do I need that? I don't think that it should be like that. I don't think that I care if it's the first tick of the bar. Let's try that. So I just want to note that it looks like it's resetting at the 740 bar, and that's not what I want. No, it's not. It wasn't that simple, right? It was only good when you included, um, sorry, retail sales month over month was 1.2 versus an expected 2, but core retail sales was 1.9 versus a forecast of 1.3. So when you exclude the sale of automobiles, things were pretty good, or they were better than expected. So it's more nuanced than that. It's, how do you say, mixed. This is not the first bar of the session. Well, they're selling in now pretty hard. Why is it that the 7:35 bar does not end up being first bar of the session? It's the 7:30 bar. I find this troubling. This 7:35 should be the first bar. If I change this to update on each tick, what happens? It's going to kill that chart. We shall see. I may have crashed NinjaTrader there just by forcing that to run on each tick. Probably just need to be really patient, wait a long time, and it'll come back. In the meantime, I want to look at this. There's got to be a better way to determine when to change the session. Maybe I need to do it through the session iterator. I don't know. Okay. Ah, that does it. If I do it on each tick. Uh, I see. I think that I have to make this on each tick. Because I'm gonna have to say, if the next bar is the first bar of the session, then reset it. Can I do that? Wait, there is an is first bar of session by index. Okay, so I could say if is first bar of session by index current bar plus 1. Wait, do I not have? Oh, okay. See if I fixed it. Da, 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 da. That seems so much better to me. The actual value they get should be pretty much the same, but I can see what's going on sooner. Okay, so they are extending the highs now. We got about 3 minutes to the consumer sentiment news. So it looks like they're positioning themselves long for the consumer sentiment. Hmm. Now, Consumer sentiment 72. We're looking for 72. Versus a previous reading of 72.5. Remember, we got business inventories coming into which we expect to be at negative 1.1. Okay, so it's 72.8, slightly better than expected. Well, they're already a long position, so I'm a little wary about just going with it right here. Inflation expectations slightly higher than the last reading at 2.7 versus 2.6, and the inventory is right in line. And the preliminary for August is 66.5 versus an estimated 66.7. Well, I need to remove this since that didn't happen. I think that they need a slight pullback here. As long as the treasuries stay about where they're at. Hmm. Okay, here comes the NASDAQ. Ice cream. Hmm. Well, I was expecting a pullback that was a little deeper than I thought it was, but I don't think it's appropriate to add here. Yeah, NQ is definitely doing some. Well, did you see they made an attempt up there and there wasn't a lot of volume, and now on this downturn there was like way more volume when it was trading? See all this right here? And then up here, I'm gonna have to clear it. So down here, they're not trading very much at each price, but up here they are. They're trading tens up here. Maybe now more interest in that spot. Yeah, it is. Could be. I think it's probably the case though that because they had such a run up going into the news, yeah, there's probably was just a lot of profit taking and stuff in there. Hmm. There was a really big offer at 66 apparently. Yes, I'm in yes. Okay, so from the University of Michigan survey, consumers anticipate declines in the national unemployment rate to significantly slow and expect a rising rate of inflation during the year ahead. No? Well, I'm not surprised that that momentum. I mean, the thing is, it might still go up here. It might still do okay here on Friday, but next week, I'm really skeptical about their ability to hold this run. Yeah. Mm. It's definitely tight here. guess Fed's Kaplan is speaking now. Where's that coming from? It's quite a bit traded there at 66. They're not holding. So the China deal thing, they're not holding a phone call on Saturday. So that's. I thought maybe there was something happening today, and I was like, "Is there a time?" There's not. So that's not very conducive to something happening today. I think that they'll probably just trade like they trade. Although you would want to be much. Uh, you wouldn't want to hold into the weekend potentially. Not quite a new high there, but close. NASDAQ just flailing around again. Oh, and Zero Hedge pointing out that it is still Democrats leaving the consumer sentiment near the COVID lows. That could change next month, man. Like once they have a month of school in, assuming nothing crazy happens when people go back to school, yeah, people's perceptions of things are going to change a ton. Yeah. On my 5-minute chart, it's still so tight that okay, didn't work out. They might be a little bit more down here. Y62. That's that it. So they came down to the seller's cost basis, but it looks like they're bouncing off of it. So far, at least. Seeing a move in the dollar. Hmm. Not sure what to make of that. Touching that open price again. I'm hearing some stuff about this seizure in Venezuela. Sounds like what I just I don't think it's pertinent, but it sounds like there's a real story to it. President Trump's brother Robert hospitalized in New York. Oh no, what? Mm, looks like they're gonna go off, but it's pretty heavy. I don't know. This is looking to me like action we shouldn't be trading because it's not really going anywhere. And then just back to that open again. Nasdaq is just all over the place. Look, Nasdaq is hitting lows. Mm-mm. It looks like they're just pressuring him. Okay. How much volume is traded through here? You say so. Hmm. We're definitely getting some currency end of week balancing. Dollar strength coming in. I don't think that you're really gonna actively see stops until, maybe the high of the day. And even not beyond that potentially. So when I'm looking for stops, I don't necessarily see them until 77 actually. King of Bahrain arrives in Dubai with his robot bodyguard? What? What? Wait, that is a robot behind him. That is a robot body. That can't be a robot. That's got to be a person in a suit. That must just be. I don't know what that's not a robot. Do you see that? That's a person. There's a person in there. Fake news. A person in the suit. Rand Squawk. Look, 2020 is not the year for this. We don't need to fight COVID on one front and Skynet on the other. Ah, oh my gosh. Skynet. That would be a movie to watch. Terminator 2. Oh, I think I've already watched that with my kids. Okay, so a potential pivot there. You notice some longs stepping in there, but the cumulative delta not breaking out of its range. Not really dramatic action. So it's still a tug and pull, essentially. Okay. Back to the open. Well, I can try and stop the longs out again. Super tight, of course. Hmm. I guess I need to blow my nose. Okay. Well, oh, I kind of didn't realize that we're in the counter trend period, huh? Um, Trump slams Biden's call for mandatory mask wearing, and president can't do anything about it anyways. I don't know if it's gonna do anything, dude. Look at it. There's no organization to this. It's just random movement. I only got in because I thought I was getting an okay price, and it's turning out to not really be that great. Mm-hmm. 64 probably will pivot it. Yeah. Now, on a 5-minute basis, we haven't done it yet, right? Pivot low, pivot high. Pivot low. A 5-minute chart, we're still pivoting up, but it's incredibly tight. I'll tell you that much. Why would I wear a oh. I'm sorry. Are you afraid that I'm going to give you coronavirus through the internets? I coughed. You might have it now. It was like the most pathetic sounding cough ever, wasn't it? A few ticks away from passing that last pivot high on the 1-minute chart. Not that it matters. New York Fed purchases $12 billion in Treasury coupons. Coming up just a little bit short there so far. U.S. Postal Service mail sorting machines are mysteriously being deactivated. Oh, that's bullshit. Zero and Geo are falling for fake news. That story is they're just deactivating them because they don't have enough mail going through right now, so they're just turning them off. The story they was breaking that explained it all in the article. That is just, you're just spreading hysteria. What's this? Perhaps the equity market leads policymakers into action, meaning risk off forces their hands. So a temporary bout of equity volatility in the next week is entirely possible. Have I not been saying that now for like 3 weeks? Have I not been? You were here, Vlad. Salim, I've been saying this like for the past 2 weeks, right? Hey, how are you going to get them to vote for this thing with if equity markets are at all-time highs? How do you do that? I didn't see how you do that. The Pentagon is forming a new task force to investigate UFOs that have been observed by U.S. military aircraft. Oh, I was saying you're my witness that I've been saying that you can't pass a bill if equity markets are at all-time highs. Yeah, because this Prism FB guy was saying perhaps the equity market leads policymakers into action, meaning risk off forces their hands. So a temporary bout of equity volatility in the next week is entirely possible. Yes. See, he was there. He was there, guys. My witness. So I normally don't pay too much attention to tick, but tick is incredibly range bound too. Kaplan says willing to see inflation run at 2.25% or 2.375%. Oh, okay. Treasuries don't care. Let's just not talk about the specter of inflation, shall we? I don't think that they like that. IG Squawk retweets that and just says okay. about Fed willing to see inflation run higher. Well, a little bit above 2%. It's funny because it's like they're either not going to get there, or if they get there, it's going to go way past 2%. Bloomberg Business: Americans who suffer adverse reactions to coronavirus vaccines that the U.S. is racing to develop will have a hard time getting compensated for injuries from the drugs. Oh, okay. Okay, there's not quite there. Not quite there. You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. Eh, just a little push. Yeah, there's a lot of retail traders taking profits right there. Okay, there it is. Pivot high. Maybe now they go for the regular session high. Other Fed members have hinted 2.5% for inflation. See, that sounds more like it. Now, CNN reporting that the Trump's brother is hospitalized. Was it coronavirus? Nobody's said why. Oh, Spy Gamma expiring today? Market year. Where at? 340 strike. Oh. Well, we're not getting there. It's very skewed to the downside. Well, the currency's kind of chilled out. So that kind of explains why we're able to get a little higher. And copper doing okay. Oil still just kind of chopping around. I think that they might shoot out here as we approach the end of the. Yeah, I don't know why I just got out there. Oh, I know why. Because I don't actually know what's happening. I think, though, that they're going to come out the top. Mm. They're going to try and break that high, I think. Mm-hmm. Okay. He pulled it. There's a little bit of volume at 67, but he pulled it. Oh, I don't know if it's that you're missing opportunities, Salim. I think that a lot of the time on Fridays there's just not really any reason to trade it. We're there at the high of the day. We ticked through it, in fact. But look, it's just kind of chilling here for now. Ah. This is putting me to sleep, man. You see my eyes glassing over. Some volume here, the micro. I don't want to scare people, but I want you to know to be prepared. I have every reason to believe that Trump is not going to go, silently into the night if he loses. Who said that? What a load of shit. Hillary Clinton. Fuck you, Hillary Clinton. You're full of crap. There's absolutely no reason to think that if he legitimately loses the election, listen, of course he'll take a legal case, but you're just spreading hysteria. Shut up. Like, be like most politicians. Bob Dole. Okay, Bob Dole, he knew how to do it. You lose, you shut up. You go away. Nobody wants to hear from you anymore. He's people. My politics. It just makes me mad when people say, right. I apologize if you don't like the politics. I just it makes me so mad when I see her spreading hysteria. It's literally hysteria. You have no reason to believe. There is not a single piece of factual evidence. Can you read his mind or something? You have no reason to believe that that's going to happen. It's nonsense. And it's irresponsible, frankly, for somebody in that position of power to be making speculations of that nature. Just shut up. I should tweet at her or something. I don't know where she said that. She's evil. Yeah. Tell you what, guys. She said that she has every reason to believe that Donald Trump won't go quietly when he loses. Apparently, the U.S. Army esports team is back on the job. Seriously, the whole thing is ridiculous. Hysteria. Right? By the way, 3370 a key. Resistance point from basically, well, when we started, we were at 70, right? And then we sold down a little bit. So if they get above 70, then it's like, cool. Why do I have that? I don't want that. Oh, I'm also getting this Trump appointments of Chad Wolf and Ken Cuccinelli to top jobs at the Department of Homeland Security are invalid, the Government Accountability Office says. Well, that's a ticket to court, I guess. Why? Because they weren't confirmed correctly? Oh, right, yeah. There's no way that the Senate will confirm Chad either, right? If Bernie got elected, I would, yeah. Man, people, I don't think that I would hope that anybody running for president, that when you lose that you just go quietly, but um geez, if Bernie Sanders became president, I would be upset at the least. I would be upset. Okay, well, they busted the average range. No, I'm thirsty. I'm going to go get some water, and we'll see if this ever breaks out. But like I said earlier, doesn't look like action we should be trying to trade. So I think I probably might still try and take another trade on the experiment, but this is like some of the worst action I've seen in months. So let's get some water. We'll find something fun to talk about. All right. Matt Smaller, hello. How are you? Yeah, the thing is just that Fridays. Oh, okay. We're not quite to MMT yet, but see, here's the thing. If MMT would be like, there's no crisis, nothing's going on. Oh, we would just like to do something cool. Let's just print money. That would be MMT, right? If that were to happen, I think markets would throw a fit. But if there's a crisis going on, they're okay with it. Mm. I think that's supposed to be his way of laughing. No. Something is happening here that is kind of weird, and I have not seen before. What is this? Maybe it's just the result of really tight action? Well, that doesn't make it modern monetary theory imagination of Lord. The Federal Reserve believes that you print money to sustain the financial system. Modern monetary theory says you print money because you want to. I don't believe that at all. Mm-mm. If we didn't have a virus, things could be very, very different. Who knows? Who knows? That is what we call confirmation bias, buddy. Yeah, okay. So let's see here. There could be still be a bounce. I don't know. Mm-mm. I can see that buyers are losing out here significantly. But to me, modern monetary theory would be you print money even though the fundamentals don't call for it, right? Like, there's no risks to the financial system. There's banks and all of the metrics that they have all show that the system is adequately capitalized. And you come in and you print a bunch of money to fund some new government program. That's modern monetary theory. I think what is happening here is a lot of people know that modern monetary theory has kind of become the scary specter, and so they're kind of calling everything that to get the clicks. Okay, but printing money during a financial crisis is not necessarily modern monetary theory. That's just Keynesian economics to the extreme. That's what we're seeing right now is Keynesian economics run amok. Mm-mm. This is the slowest day in how long? Man, I can't even tell you, RJ. Since before the crisis, I tell you that much. Since Christmas, maybe? It's bad. Now, the flip side to that is that if it turned into a down day, it could get really extreme. You could get a volatility breakout type of thing. Yep, I'd say early January at the least. Yeah, it's bad. Normally, at the very least, you have the volatility to hold you up, but this is just super, super tight. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. But I think the point that I was trying to get at, Gary Rich, was that the key difference I see in modern monetary theory is the idea that you can and should print money for policy reasons and not for economic reasons. Because the current regime in the Federal Reserve is we print money and we do what is necessary to maximize unemployment and price stability. That's it. And if you want to come in and say, we need to print money to keep the president elected, or we need to print money because we want to have socialized medicine, the Federal Reserve would say that's inappropriate. But modern monetary theory says that your currency supply can become a policy funding tool. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. What happens if the Federal Reserve loses control of rates and the US government has to pay even 1% interest? So, well, they're already at about 1% interest on the 30-year, right? But let's say in the 10-year that we got to 1%, how far would we have to go to get to 1%? That would be a really far move. Um, I think that for them to lose control of the market that that much I mean, it can happen, but in these kind of conditions, I think that would be extremely unlikely. Where are you going to get all of the demand short from? Like, these banks, you got to realize the reason that the rates are up so high is because the banks need them. The Federal Reserve's actions basically create a liquidity shortage, you know? So it would be really, really hard to push rates down like that, even if you were going to be a vigilante and everything. Well, that short not working out at all. I just want to be out. We're just gambling here, guys. This is like shit action. Hmm. Yeah, should have known how that was going to go. It's just continuing to dance across that line. I think that time they came down because they wanted to pick up some longs, so. Oh, that last one I really let it go. I should have managed that one more. Um well, if rates were to get to that point, uh they would have to be because the economy had recovered to a point at which the stimulus certainly wouldn't be needed anymore. You understand? Like you have to sit back and say, okay, like we're getting these drops. Like the 30-year auction yesterday was awful, right? 30-year auction was awful. Rates increased quite a bit in the 30-year. I do think that it was a major factor behind why the equities markets fell yesterday. But then that's the thing is like, okay, if rates are going to go up, then the equity markets fall, and then there's no reason for the interest rate to change again because the Federal Reserve is going to keep things low and they're going to continue to buy and they're going to continue to create this shortage of treasuries that causes the banks to want to have to snatch them up because one, they need them, and two, because they know the Federal Reserve will buy them from them. How are you going to get that dynamic that you want that you have in your head that where the interest rates run away from us? Because I've always said, you know, at someday the time of the bond vigilante will come. Okay, like they were in like the 80s. Okay, but you just can't have that in the current environment with the way that the dynamics are run out. There would have to be a change. There would have to be a significant change in something that would allow the rates to fall. And what would that be? I'm not really sure that right now that there is one. You would have to like completely change how the banks operate. You know what I mean? MMT is very complicated and complex. Why do you think those claims to forgive student loans? It's part of MMT. Run up the debt and hope to print your way out. Road to yeah, it's true. Well, I don't even know if those MMT people really even think or care that you ever have to print your way out. You know what I mean? They seem to think that you can just run a debt forever. Stephanie Kelton, she has authored books on MMT. Makes one think, yeah, she's the one she's. I'm starting to realize she's like the only one that's saying this shit. But the thing that I find interesting about it, again, so like Zero Hedge has had several stories about this over the past few weeks, right? It mainly comes down to every time that the Federal Reserve says anything about a digital cryptocurrency. And then they say, so the Federal Reserve could create a digital cryptocurrency, and then they could give you all money directly through that digital cryptocurrency. Look, if the Federal Reserve wanted to, they could send you checks in the mail. The government does it. Why couldn't the Federal Reserve do it? Right? They're trying to scare you. It's not it's not something that's for sure or that they're even saying they're going to do. You know what I mean? It is hysteria. So it's creating a fear that um, we have an outsized reaction to that is not real. The reality is that probably what's going to happen is, well, I don't want to say probably what's going to happen, but their plan is going to be the economy recovers, everything goes great, they draw down their purchases and start increasing rates again, and everything's hunky dory. That's what they think's going to happen. Of course, we know that probably it's going to not be quite that way because growth is just going to be awful. Well, I was hoping if I was trading with just the positions on a range bound day that I would be able to pull something out of it. You know, if I was buying down there at that line, if I changed the way that I was doing this, maybe I could have gotten away with it. But overall, it still seems to me that when you get into a day like this, that the best thing is to just not touch it. You know what I mean? Bernie Sanders says what Trump is trying to do right now is deflect attention away from the reality facing working people in this country. I think it's kind of funny when they're the ones that are saying, like, we should just keep everything shut down. Trump's birtherism attack on Harris? Trump's attack? He didn't. What the hell? Oh, okay. So he was asked about it, and he said, I heard today that she doesn't meet the requirements. And by the way, the lawyer who wrote the piece is highly qualified and talented. I assume the Democrats would have checked that out before she gets chosen for vice president. Okay, so this whole story is bullshit because they're saying because he didn't say, oh, it's nonsense, then he's pushing it. But you don't have to. He doesn't. He's not a lawyer. He doesn't have to do that. He's not qualified to say that, frankly. Yeah, it's a nonsense story. It is funny that it is becoming a thing, though. And I don't know how legitimate that. I read the story, but I don't know if it sounds like something that's probably a dead end, but I don't know how. I would have thought that lawyer would have somebody like a lawyer like that would be more. Wouldn't be saying something like that unless he had a good case. Let's put it that way. Mm-mm-mm. No. So the problem they kind of got here is that like the buyers are in the money, but they're not getting very much for it. So it's like, do they give up and it goes back down? And it's done that several times, but then it, you know, it does make it hard to short. Anthony K says giving up. Yeah, I like just I want to reiterate these are sim trades that I'm taking right now, and I'm kind of testing out a theory, but I would not recommend putting risk on right now. Counter trend didn't do much yet. No, it's there's no much like frankly for the next 2 weeks. Unless we're getting a well, I mean, always the case, but for the next 2 weeks in particular, unless you're getting a news catalyst, the trade is very questionable. Mailing in my ballot from Canada. Okay. A very inside day. It's August, man. And the fact that it's Friday just makes it so much worse, right? Yeah. Like when I think about it, the only reason that I think short is because I think that they're going to come back down to those cost bases again. That they're going to just keep jumbling around in there. That's the only reason. And is that really enough of a reason to put on risk? And I think not. What should we call today's video? Late August. Well, they're gonna try the highs again, apparently. How many times do you think I can screw this up, huh? Oops. Okay. Oh, apparently Donald Trump is going to deliver his nomination speech at the White House in the end. They're all making a big deal out of that he can't do that. But What should we call today? Index's churn as late August trading takes hold. That's what I'm calling it. Always worth taking those breakouts. I waited for it to break out and then tried to bail. I did not. I played it. Everything that you've seen me do today was dumb and shouldn't be done. Maybe the trend just takes hold and it just keeps going up from here now. I don't know. I like Seth's introspective skills. Well, I'm feeling bad because I'm like, here's the thing is I said, okay, I'm on the experimental account today. I know that it's bad. This is some action though that I want to test some things in. So it didn't work out is not a big deal, but at the same time, it's like it did turn out bad, so it makes me feel bad about it. And there's always this thought like, okay, but wouldn't make that mistake, right? I mean, it didn't make that mistake. It was on the experimental account, but you know, so it's that kind of thought. It's because I still feel like I did something wrong, like that I had broken a rule or something. If this doesn't go up from here, I give up the rest of the day. It's kind of belly dancing the whole day. Yeah, I don't know. I still see a possibility of like up to 73, 76 rather. 76 is still a spot that you could see some interesting behavior. Huh. Mm, 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 mm. I'm also wondering if one of the things was that I was thinking, I've been doing really well this summer, but is it only been because it has been relatively good action, you know? So I'm also starting to go, okay. I thought that this method would make it a little bit better for me in slow action, but now I'm realizing that not so much. And that I just really wasn't truly seeing slow action. Well, now I should qualify that because that's maybe a little incorrect. Um, it may do well in slow action, but I was not playing it the right way. So now that I've seen that, I know how picky I have to be about it. How would you decide what's the best data feed? Based on if you can see the instruments that you need to see. Chikov. So like here's the thing. Does TT have better data quality? Yes. Is it going to make you more profitable? Probably not. Probably not. No, my profile's reset at the RTH start. Plus, I'm on CQG, and if you're on Rhythmic, the numbers can be slightly different because it's all based on on the volume profile. That's something else. If it's on the volume profile, I guess then yeah, you must be on the ETH, and I'm on the RTH. Rhythmic is slow. It's not. But to be frank with you guys, this is one of the ones that drives me crazy. Y'all want to think that the data feed that you're using is the best one. I mean, that's really, in reality, that's what it is. You want to think you're using the best thing, right? But the reality is that there's no best thing. They all have their thing that they do well, right? If you use CQG, you can get the index data for cheaper. If you use Rhythmic, you can see more levels. If you use trading technologies, then the data comes in a little more flowy and it's slightly less filtered or chunky. Okay. I've seen your data near exact with TT, but today it's off. But is it really going to make a difference? As long as when the action gets fast that you're still getting up to date action, it doesn't matter. So the margin of errors that we're talking about are so insignificant. Yeah. And they all have little things. So that's why I'm like, okay, you know what? If your strategy relies on the tick, use CQG. If your strategy relies on seeing big orders that are really far away from the current price, use Rhythmic. Makes sense? If you have a ton of money and you want to set up more complicated order types, automated order types, then use trading technologies. And then there's what's the other one? IQ feed. IQ feed, that's another one where you probably only want to use that if they're using their product. I wonder how much different data feeds would throw off cumulative delta. So that all just depends on what kind of action it is, because what's going to throw it off is when it ticks up and down really quickly. So like if it's ticking up and down and so like in this case where you're seeing volume hit into 71 and into 70 and a quarter, then that doesn't matter, right? But right here, when we're seeing volume buy and sell into 71, okay, like that's when it gets screwed up. That's when it's like, okay, depending on whether the best bid ask changed at that price, and when it said that volume went through, is going to determine whether it's considered a buy or a sell. And so you don't know. Some of those might be wrong. If you saw, oh geez, look at that. Let's bail. Yep. I guess it's just longs all the time now. Well, oh, it's time to go. So this doesn't matter. What would tick delta off if using ZN or ZB? Well, exactly that, right? And if it was like tens of thousands going through there and they both went through at that one price at 05, then how much of that was buy and how much of that was sell? Yeah. But here's the thing is when you get into cumulative delta like that, I'm not so sure if knowing how much was buy and how much was sell matters, because it's all volume happening at the same price and there's an equal number of positions long as short, generally speaking, if you're trading volume like that. So I think in the cases where your cumulative delta is really going to get screwed up, it doesn't really matter. Now for my cost basis, maybe it matters, but so far I don't think it does. So whatever. I mean, like here is another thing is like, show me the edge. Like, show me how there's something you can do with this one that you can't do with the other. That the person on average is going to make more money using this platform than that platform. Like, where is it in TT that the quality of the data makes you so much more money that it's worth that much a month? Because I don't see it. But a lot of it has to do with that. There's all the other features like that. Rhythmic gives you so many more levels, and that Rhythmic you can get market by order data. Like, now that's something that can matter. So it's like, I think I want to go back to Rhythmic because I want to see those things. I don't think that any of this other nonsense matters. I kind of want the VIX too, though. All right, guys. We're just yapping too much, anyways. Slow day. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Don't blow any money on this nonsense. Unless, well, you know what, it might be worth sticking around and seeing if something dramatic happens later in the day, because if something, some sort of news does hit, then it could really dramatically affect the markets. But let's see. So data feed test CQG versus Rhythmic and Rhythmic won? Well, probably. It seems to me like Rhythmic is a better, more advanced feed, but the Rhythmic doesn't give you the indexes. So, and that's where I'm just like, okay, is the improved data quality worth not having the index? Well, if you use the index, then no, probably not. And if you don't use the index, well, then you might as well use the one that's better, right? Okay, I'm Evan. Monday. In the meantime, stay profitable.